Good evening, everybody. This is Upton Candidates Night here, sponsored by the Bloomer Girls. Okay, so thank you very much, Bloomer Girls. They're the ones who... They set it all up. They are the ones who are going to help us with the timing of things, which is great. They're the ones who set the rules with regard to the meeting along with myself. So that's how that's going to work out. So what I need to do
Turn on the microphones.
I need to turn my microphone on. How's that, everybody? So good, thank you very much. So just so you know, each candidate will have a chance to make opening statements. The candidates who are running in what we call a contested race will have some more time to give an opening statement. And then the candidates who are contested will have a chance to give closing statements as well. Between those time frames is when all of you will have a chance to ask questions. So if you have a question, there's a microphone right here in the middle that you can go to, and you can start to ask your question. The most important thing that you all need to understand is this. You will have 45 seconds to ask your question. This is not the time for all of you to go out and make speeches. This is their opportunity to make speeches and answer your questions. Years past, we've had situations where a person would get up and they would, in the ruse of asking a question, they give a 5-minute speech about how things were so bad here in Upton. Well, that's not what this is about. This is about you asking them questions about however you feel about them, the positions that they're running for, so on and so forth. So keep that in mind. 45 seconds. I will be timing it on my phone right here. Okay. And like I said, these ladies will be helping these folks with the timing. We have a 1-minute person, a 30-second person, and then we have a stop person, the stop sign right here. Thank you very much. Okay, so what else was I going to say? I think that's about it. The folks here know the rules about how long they have to answer questions, so on and so forth. One thing I can guarantee you is that whatever question is asked, each person will have the exact same amount of time that they wish to use in order to answer those questions. So even if it's a question about a specific individual, the other person will have a chance to answer in kind with regard to that particular question. And I will give an opportunity for a rebuttal if that's necessary. So at this point, all I want to do is wait till the end for the applause, please. I'm going to introduce each candidate, and then at the very end, if you can give them a round, I would appreciate that. So we have on the end Lauren Phobes. And Lauren, what position are you running for again?
The Library Board of Trustees.
Library Board of Trustees, thank you. Jim Bates, who's ready for the Planning Board. Brett Simus, running for Selectman. Marsha Kozlowski, running for Selectman. William Taylor for the Planning Board. Chris Murphy, which position are you running for again?
Recom.
Recreation Commission, and Lauren Hebb, Board of Health, correct? Correct. Okay, very good. Let's give all of them a hand. Those of you who have run office before know it's a difficult thing to run for office, because one of the things you quite frankly have to think about is the fact that you might not be the person that gets the most votes. And there is an emotional aspect to that that has to be taken into account. So I want to thank all of these candidates for being brave enough to take out papers and to run for office. So if there are no questions from any of you with regard to the procedure and process of things, we can get started. So Lauren, if we can give you a 1-minute speech, okay, about library trustee.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. As stated, my name is Lauren Phobes, and I'm running for the Library Board of Trustees. I've been living in Upton for 7 years, come this June, and I have 2 small children, ages 2 and 3, and I want to be part of this Library Board of Trustees because not only have I enjoyed the town itself and the loving and caring people that are here, I want to uphold the library's stance to the commitment to foster creativity and lifelong learning. So this is a wonderful new space that we have here, and I want to help sustain the library and the values that they stand for many years to come.
Thank you. And now Chris Murphy.
Hi, nice to see you all. I've been in Upton we've been in Upton since 1996 and love the town. All that it has to offer, State Park, all of the activities, etc. I recently became, I guess, semi-retired, to the dismay of my wife, not fully retired, and decided to take the opportunity to give back to the community and participate and do whatever I can to help the team out. I had an initial meeting with them at their last formal meeting. Obviously, I was not a formal member, but just to get the lay of the land and see what it was all about, and very interesting. So happy to help out.
Great, thank you. Laura?
Good evening, I'm Laura Hebb. I'm the candidate for re-election for Board of Health. I was appointed to the Board of Health in November of '22, and it has been my pleasure. The Board of Health protects the health and safety of our residents. We do all of the food inspections, the brick and mortar, as well as the food trucks and all events. We do Title V, which is septic and well. We are in charge of animal control. Animal control is not just lost dogs. We do barn inspections, we do beavers. If you have a question about an animal acting a certain way, you can feel free to call the animal control officer. We have information about ticks, mosquitoes, the diseases associated therewith. We do the water testing at Kiwanis. We were very instrumental. We have a lot of people don't realize we have an RN on staff. We are a tremendous resource. We even have Narcan kits if you have a family member that you're worried about. Any questions, don't hesitate to call the Board of Health. As I said, we are a tremendous resource, and I truly would appreciate your vote.
Right at a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So, as each candidate who is opposed speaks, we have drawn lots at the beginning, and that's the order that they're going in based on the lots. So the first to speak for 3 minutes is going to be Jim Bates. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Jim Bates Jr., not to be confused with Jim Bates. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the residents who have come to this event this evening and could not go unannounced without thanking the Up to Bloomer girls. These ladies have been around for a long time. I think they've been around longer than I have. With that being said, one of the primary responsibilities of the planning board is to ensure our community maintains control as we grow. They provide sustainability for our town citizens and the services our town provides. Other responsibilities of the board are adopt a master plan. Our current master plan was approved in 2005. It might be time to look at that. Administer the Town of Upton subdivision control bylaws. Act as the special permit granting authority when required. Review site plans submitted by applicants. Work with other town boards, committees, and commissions to recommend possible amendments to our general bylaws, subdivision control bylaws, and our zoning bylaws. The planning board also serves as liaisons to the Capital Budget Committee, the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, and the Community Preservation Committee. A planning board member's obligation when reviewing applications is to work with our town planner and our other boards, committees, and commission members. We have to be open-minded, considerate, cooperative, all the while making sure we are community-focused. During the time I've lived in Upton, I've been involved in the planning board, the zoning board, the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, the Open Space Subcommittee, the Capital Budget Committee, Upton Youth Sports, both as a participant and a coach, Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and then a few times a year when I go four-wheeling up in Maine. I don't believe there's another place in North America than I'd rather be than our town Town of Upton.
Thank you. Bill Taylor?
Good evening. My name is Bill Taylor, and I have lived in Upton since 1992, so I guess that's 32, a while. I guess Jim did a really good job of explaining what the planning board does. So the reason that I'm running, so I have a similar degree of experience as Jim. I've started serving for the town on the Railroad Fact Finding Committee, and I've served on a couple of library feasibility boards, library trustees, board of assessors, and I currently now work for the Department of Public Works. And it's interesting, when I was thinking about this, I think people often think you need to come to these jobs with an agenda. And you're one of 5 members, so there's really no way you're going to ever enact your agenda. It's going to be work that you do with the other members of the board. So I think what is extremely important is that you are a good board member. And I think my various board experience will bring a useful perspective to the planning board when they make decisions, to determine what changes need to be made to zoning bylaws, and then also working on the decisions that Jim mentioned, subdivision control, site plan review, and special permits. Now, one thing I think that the planning board will need to concern themselves with is affordable housing from a zoning perspective, and also climate change from a zoning perspective. I think those are going to be the real challenges that we together will face. So I'm very happy to be here, happy to see all you people. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Okay, so for the Board of Selectmen, for the drawing of lots, Mr. Simons will be speaking first for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Brett Simus, and I am a current member of the Upton Select Board. I've been on the board for 6 years, serving in various positions, including chair at different times. And I've lived in Upton for 10 years, just this past year with my wife and 3 children. I have always been an active member of the communities I've lived in, not just here in Upton, but also when my family and I lived in Whitensville. I was chairman of the planning board there, served on the planning board for several years, was also a member of the zoning board there. So I've been volunteering and local government sort of roles for the better part of 15 plus years. So I have some experience in that regard, but most importantly is the relationships and the trust and the people that I work with and engage with and live with around the town of Upton and what we've been able to accomplish here. I, over the past 6 years, have been a part of a lot of change in the community. No one person, I think, Bill said it nicely, right? This is politics and community leadership are all about shared decision making, shared responsibility. We each bring something unique to the table, but I think that as a board, we have been very collaborative and able to accomplish some positive things for the community. I think we're in a much better place today than we were 6 years ago. In a lot of ways, there's still tremendous opportunity. I was just looking at my ad from 6 years ago, and it said, we should have a mindset of being grateful and mindful and respectful of the past, realistic about the present, and optimistic about the future. And I think that still really does hold true with where we are today, 6 years on. And I do believe that Upton is a very special community. It's a unique community. We have a lot going for us. We have to be very mindful. I love the phrase control. What did you say? Control as we grow, right? Whether that's affordable housing, whether it's development agendas, whether it's the state coming in and doing road work, which is always great. we want to maintain local control and be very mindful and thoughtful about how we plan, how we develop, where we build infrastructure, where we invest our dollars. We have a lot of things that we need to be taking care of, and finding the right balance between those priorities is critical, and it's why it takes so many of us, right, and yourselves included, being here and being engaged citizens to participate in that process. So with that, I would just ask for your support and vote and on May 7th, and thank you very much, and thank you to the Bloomer Girls.
Thank you. And then Marcia Keselowski, selected. Oh, select board, sorry.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the Bloomer Girls for sponsoring this, and also to all who came tonight to participate. I've been in Upton for 40 years, living and loving this town. The New England town charm, the historic buildings, the acres of forest, wetlands, and wildlife are treasures of this town that I love and want to preserve. My heart's in serving this town, and that's what inspired me to volunteer for committees. I've been on 5 committees, and I'm currently on the Personnel Board. My background, my career in software and support engineering as a teacher and manager gives me a variety of experience and has sharpened my skills in problem solving, listening, training, accounting, negotiations, budget, and project management. I have a passion to help this town, and since I'm retired, I have the time to do it. I was brought up to distinguish the difference between needs and wants and how to prioritize them. I research everything so my decisions are fact-based and have good results. I do not take at face value anything. I research, I listen, I discuss, and I keep an open mind to other people's views. Let me apply these methods and experience for our town. We need more creative ideas to help keep our town running efficiently and to minimize tax increases and have more money left to improve the town for our future. We need additional improvements in communication with residents. This would be a great aid in town meeting, voting, and we need to encourage people to show up and speak up. The people's views need to be reflected in our decisions. My heart broke to hear that people in this town had to move because they could no longer afford to live here. And there's people who are actually one crisis away from having to leave. I want to do more to help keep these people in town. We have services, we need to connect them, and we need to do more to keep them. Who are these people? There are neighbors, there are scout leaders, there are teachers. There are teachers, and they're the people who help run the town, and I think we need to help them.
Thank you very much. Excellent. So at this point, the 3 candidates here who are running unopposed, if they wish, they could go and sit in the audience now if they think they might have questions for the candidates. I'll leave that up to the 3 of you to do that if you wish, okay? So while that's happening, just a reminder to all of you, this is your chance out there to ask questions, okay? If you have a question, you just step up to the microphone here. You will have a total of 45 seconds to ask your questions. Whatever remarks you say are part of the 45 seconds, so keep that in mind. If you hit 45 seconds and you're still talking, I'm going to gather you down. You need to sit down and somebody else will ask you a question. The other thing I want to just remind you of is the fact that when you ask a question, it's for the office itself, or maybe more than one office. You might want to ask the same question to, let's say, all 4 contested candidates. That's fine. So just keep that in mind. Each candidate will have the same amount of time to respond to whatever your question happens to be. And then, when we're all out of questions to ask, we'll do the closing remarks and we'll go from there. So, who wants to be the first one to ask the question? Someone's got to break the ice. Mr. Atherton. Go ahead, sir.
This question is for the planning board candidates and the select board candidates. What specific steps would you take to support the development of more affordable housing in the town?
Okay, great. So, we'll follow this. Why don't we start with the planning board people, and since Mr. Bates opened up, we'll have Mr. Taylor speak first on this one here. So, Mr. Taylor, you have 2 minutes.
So there are probably literally hundreds of thousands of people who are trying to address that issue. And I think we can learn from it. So the first step is to go out and gather the kinds of ideas that are out there about how you can encourage affordable housing through your zoning. It takes a lot of work, and then once you've gathered all that information, then you need to integrate it, challenge it, to arrive at something that works for Upton. And that's how I would hope I could help the planning board approach that, is because what I love to do is to go out and find those kinds of solutions, those kinds of ideas. You don't really need to, there's a lot been done, you don't have to reinvent it. Let's take advantage of what's already been done.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bates? Jim?
So Article 31 is called Inclusionary Zoning Bylaw, which we will be voting on May 2nd. I have not read the entire bylaw, but the preface of it is to allow the community to utilize the land we have available in regards to not just standard zoning, okay? And I was a little apprehensive at first, but then I started reading it, and what enticed me to support this article is it is not zone specific. It is for every zone in this community. And there's 5 pages of requirements and things. This is a step to move forward as the town of Upton to support affordable housing. However, our governor has presented a $4 billion housing bond bill, and I've read a little bit of it. I'm a little concerned about one of the issues in that bill. The auxiliary dwelling units by right measure. We have zoning, we have control, we have Article 31. I support Article 31. I am not an advocate of our governor's $4 billion housing bond bill.
Great, thank you. Okay, so for the Board of Selectmen, Marshall will be the first to speak on this question.
Hi. Some of you may know that I've done a lot of work on the 40B being closed for 47 Main Street. And I've helped to organize concerns and actually had meetings with the developer so that we could discuss the situation and people could voice their concerns directly. I've learned a lot during this, and I believe in affordable housing, and I'd like to see it done in a more controlled manner where we have more say. Instead of letting the developer come in and say what they want to do and take a parcel of land, it'll be useful for us to do some planning. For instance, right now I brought up the fact that there's a lot of seniors out there that are having issues trying to survive. The average Social Security check is $1,900 a month, so a lot of people have been on the housing list for years without getting an apartment. I'd like to see something like senior housing Rather than in a 40B, 25% of the housing is affordable, 100% of this would be affordable if we can move this forward. So we could do good as far as our citizens, and we could satisfy our needs. There's also another problem, and that is they require to have sewer and water and sewer, which in Upton keeps it in a very narrow zone. And with the water and sewer being extended up 140, that opens up a new area so that we're not building on top of each other in neighborhoods or building in a historic district to have affordable housing. But I'd like to see more control, and there's a lot of bills pending in our Congress to change the 40B laws, and I'd like to see some of those move forward.
Thank you. Great. Next question, please.
Do I get to answer the question?
It was a test.
That does happen once in a while. Sorry.
It's easier for me, less pressure.
Sorry, folks. Here you go. Brett, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks. Great question. Obviously, affordability is a very hot topic for several reasons, right? We've got specific projects that are to help us meet the 10% need. We also have overall affordability of Upton, right? And they're sort of two distinct things. So being mindful of that, I'm going to focus specifically on your question, which was about affordable housing. And I assume that relates to 40Bs and how we meet and regain local control over development in the town of Upton. Is that mostly what you're after?
Well, it doesn't necessarily need 40B.
Okay. You don't want to do that. Okay. So I'll keep going. Yeah. So what we've done already and what I'll continue to do is we've created, we've revitalized the Affordable Housing Authority. We have the Affordable Housing Trust. We've created an affordable housing production plan. And what those things do are allow us to show to the state that we're very serious about meeting our 10% minimum required affordable housing. That then, by doing that, it gives us like a 2-year window where we can show the plan, have some time to get through before we have any new projects come in. So that's work that we've already done. What we plan to do additionally is look at what we can do to make housing in Upton more affordable for people that are struggling and have affordability challenges, right? So we've done some of that through tax work-offs. We've done some of that through different tax programs. I know we can do more. I've been talking to the assessor to get some data and some ideas about things that we can do to make Upton even more affordable, particularly for people on fixed incomes. So we'll continue to drive those things. It's a very important area.
Great. Thank you. Sorry about that. Next question.
So many questions, so little time. I have a question for the planning board candidates. I brought this up last night at the planning board meeting, but there's two ways that, as folks know, the federal government, the state government has becoming more aggressive in wanting towns to do certain things. The two issues that are currently pending are solar bylaws. They want more, the state wants more solar arrays in different towns because of climate change, and the other one is affordable housing. The planning board has two tools at its disposal. One is to say no and to run the risk of lawsuits, and the other one is to come up with proposed bylaws that would be voted for at town meeting.
Can I ask you a question?
And my question is, would you rather take the prophylactic approach and say, okay, we're going to develop bylaws so you can do these but under certain conditions, or just say, no, we're not going to do them?
Okay.
So we face the possibility of a lawsuit.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Bates, you'd be the first one to respond.
Absolutely.
To this. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And I commend the planning board for being proactive in both of the points that you presented to us this evening. Article 31, which I'm in support of, I believe is a tool that this community can use for affordable housing. The other one is bylaw article number 32, solar overlay district bylaw. I don't know all of the innuendos of it, but I think the intent of it has a lot of merit. I did not take the time to review what specific zones this proposed bylaw is going to be proposed in. But should you elect me, I will be educated on that. Thank you.
Mrs. Taylor?
Well, I absolutely think the right approach is to try to find a way to comply with the state's mandates in a way that respects Upton. I think in many cases that's possible. I suppose if it is impossible, then I would recommend that we revert to the position that let them sue us, because we don't want to take a action that is bad for the town. But again, I absolutely think there is probably a way you can structure a bylaw that complies, which respects Upton.
Thank you. And just to remind folks, at the very end, I reserve the right to ask one final question if I feel like I'd like to do that at the end, so I want to just let the candidates know that now. So, anyone else have a question? Not that we're near the end, because we're not. That's good.
Hi, what does the planning board have for a plan for when Millhouse's lease is up in 2027? Is there a plan? Is that going to work into the affordable housing?
Okay, great, thank you. Bill, how do you answer that one first?
I have absolutely no idea. I wasn't aware that the lease was expiring and that it would lose its, I guess, its whatever its status is in terms of housing for elderly people. Wasn't aware of that at all. I'm not even sure that that ends up being a planning board thing for the planning board to resolve. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But in any case, thank you for bringing it to my attention.
I read it the other day.
Thank you for that honest response. Politicians never say that.
I've been fortunate to live in this town a long time, and very fortunate that my father committed his life, heart, and soul to this community. And he was one of the gentlemen, and I believe with Mr. Gallagher's father and Mr. Squint Ramsey, who took the proactive approach to renovate Knowlton Hat Factory, now known as Millhouse. And I am aware that the lease expires in a certain point of time. That being said, the monetary responsibility of this community trying to maintain the facility as affordable housing is going to fall onto the Board of Select persons.
And thank you. Next question.
Hello. This is a question for the planning board and people applying for the Board of Selectmen. I was just curious what you plan to do to improve communications within the town of Upton.
Since we haven't heard from the Board of Selectmen for a little while, we'll have them speak on this one first. So, Mr. Simus, you can go first on this one.
Yes, so improving communications, I'm going to have to make assumptions since I can't ask clarifying questions. So I assume you mean communication between the town and what happens in local government and the people in the community.
Let's assume that, yeah.
I'm assuming that. That's why I did that.
That's fine,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
appreciate it. Thanks. And so we continually struggle to get information out to the community. We've tried being more intentional about minutes and releasing minutes on the website. Frankly, I don't think many boards and committees do a good job at that. I'm not sure any do a great job. I don't know if any of them do a good job. Select board is in the same category. But frankly, I think the challenge that I run into is people don't ask questions. So anytime I get a phone call or an email from someone, I answer it. People ask me questions, I answer it. So we have Facebook, we send out notices, we have the email sign up where people can sign up to get notices about town meetings, about town events. We have information on the website, we've added news articles there, we've made changes to add proposed developments onto the website. So all the information about the 40B is on the website. That never used to happen 6 years ago. We're trying to leverage technology as best we can, but that's only part of the solution because we know that not everybody accesses information the same way. I can see the sign, 30 seconds, got it. Not everybody accesses information the same way. So I'm very open to ideas about how we can do more. There's nothing I love more and I think Marsha mentioned it, right? Like we need more creative ideas. We need more engagement. We need more people asking questions. We need more people interested. And if there's ever information that you want that you feel like you can't get, ask me.
Well, I want to thank the people that have tried to do more and did more to increase communications by making the web changes. I've had feedback that a lot of people sign up for the email list and they're not getting the emails, so we need to look into that. I know people that have gone out to YouTube to find a video, and they've been through a very frustrating experience doing the search. The minutes are varied on how robust they are. So some of the things that we could do is create an index, which is just a plain file, on our website that would have links to the actual videos on YouTube so that people could go under a particular meeting and find the date and get the link to YouTube, and they wouldn't have to do any searching. Teams has a transcript ability, and it would be nice to have links to the transcripts and require transcripts and videos for all meetings. Along with that, to make the minutes more robust, it would be good, we were talking about how can we help seniors, have them do some editing, look at the videos if they can't go to the meeting, look at the transcripts, and do some robust, detailed minutes so that people have access. I guess I'm out of time.
No, got maybe 10 seconds.
The other thing is to implement an anonymous suggestion box. Some people are afraid to speak up, and it would be good to get input from those that don't want to speak.
Thank you. Was this question also for the planning board as well?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that would be, so Mr. Page would be first to speak on that.
Absolutely. Sir, one of the things I am not is technically good. I utilize the computer. I utilize the web for my personal needs. The Town of Upton website fulfills what my requirement is. We used to have a paper in Upton called the Town Crier, and that's how a lot of people got information about what our community was doing. And I would love to see somebody out there pick up the reins on that horse and carriage and maybe start it up again, because I believe that would maybe one of the instruments that would fulfill this community's intent to have more knowledge. The other thing, and this is with no disrespect at all, I remember a few years ago, maybe a decade ago, the Upton Cable Commission used to film a lot of the meetings and put them on our public access channels. I don't believe we're seeing as much of those meetings as we used to. And that might be because they don't have the support. I don't know that. I'm just, and I do not diligently make sure that I go every, once a week, look at the Upton Cable. But maybe that's another way of getting things out. And sir, no disrespect at all.
Thank you. Bill?
I think one of the challenges is finding a means of getting people to the information. And in that regard, I think we have to understand better how people access information. I use the town's website all the time and find all sorts of wonderful and very valuable information, but I'm very, know how to search. And for some people who don't know how to search, the information is not readily available. So that might be one thing, that people are readily available. However, I really do think you have to sit with people with different information acquisition modes, and say, all right, now how do we reach you? Because I think we spend a lot of time thinking about how they would reach us and using that as the solution. Because I would say, well, just put it on the website. But that's not working for everybody, certainly.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Questions? Mr. Racker?
For the Board of Selectmen candidates, what would you recommend the town do with the Racine building?
Okay, the Racine building. Marcia, you're first on this one.
This is a complex topic because it's been going on for years. I know that there is interest in making it commercial, and at this point, I don't know where that is in process, but I would like to have input from the citizens as to what they want to do with that building. I know it was part of the downtown revitalization. There was talk about taking it down at one point or making it commercial. If it can be made commercial and it can be made viable for income, I think that would be a good solution. It's a beautiful historic building. It would be nice to preserve it.
Thank you. Brett?
I think that the number one priority is to engage the community in understanding what the options are and to get feedback around what works. What's happening right now is we are focused on ensuring that we clean up the building, that we keep it occupied. My personal view is that we should absolutely preserve and keep the building. I feel the same way about Holy Angels. I think that these are two historic buildings that if we're able to maintain them and keep them and integrate them into a revitalized downtown, we absolutely should do that. Because once those buildings are gone, they don't come back. And I know I've heard it said about the Racine building that when it changed hands in 1972 and it was rebuilt to have this sort of more barn look from the original First Methodist Church look, that it lost some of its historic character. Well, it did lose some of its original historic character, but it still is a critical part of Upton's character. There was a lot of time, effort, and energy put into making the beautiful window that's on the building, but I think it's also the whole building itself. So I'm a fan of maintaining the building for whatever use makes the most sense for the town, whether that's to rent it out, to lease it, to use it for potential future growth space for municipal offices. If we need that, we're growing in the town hall and potentially may need some space for something like that. We could also sell it. We could use it for affordable housing and work with the Affordable Housing Trust and see if we could get some housing units in there. Parking is the ultimate challenge, right? And so there's opportunities to reconfigure that space to maybe add some parking if we can. I hate to take away the green space, but we know we need parking. So there's a lot that we're trying to balance in a little area, and we have an incredibly unique opportunity as a town and as a community, I've been saying this for years, to really rework, I will pay attention, thank you, to really rework our downtown. So it's a beautiful building, we should keep it.
Thank you.
I watch. When you're doing that, I'm literally watching.
Okay,
Thank
no
you, sir.
problem.
Appreciate that.
All right. What's up? Yeah, well, somebody- Mr. Murphy?
So there's a decent amount of development going on, if we haven't noticed in Upton, and I'm wondering how, this is for the planning board, I think, more specifically, how do we balance this kind of development with the Upton infrastructure, water, sewer, et cetera?
Bill, you first on this one?
Well, the next large project is Governor's Landing, which is at 139 or 160 some units off of Milford Street. In that case there, the town has received a $3.7 million grant to help pay for the extension of water and sewer from here to there. And so that's a great thing, using other people's money. That's the approach we're going to have to take, I think, is work with developers in the state to help extend the infrastructure. I think from the state's perspective, it's a worthwhile investment because it does help in the effort to develop affordable housing. So in any case, but from a planning board perspective, I don't know that the planning board didn't play any role in the grant or anything like that. But those are the kinds of things that I think we need to be done.
Thank you. Jim?
The pros and cons of living in our town. A lot of pros, few cons. The pros are we have an enormous amount of water, and we have capacity in our septic system, sewage system. The con is that people know that we have open space. They want to come here and build here because we are a jewel, maybe the jewel of the Blackstone Valley. With that being said, and I don't believe there's one person in this room or that's going to watch this that wouldn't disagree with me. I will not support this town, the taxpayers of this town, spending a nickel to extend municipal services to a development for the profitability of a developer. If a developer wants to build in our town, he's going to pay what is required based under subdivision control bylaws.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question.
Yeah, this question is for both planning board candidates. The community, as everybody's talked about, is facing 40B. The United States has a huge missing middle in housing, period, that over the last quarter century has not been built. So we have 2 generations of people that are having a hard time buying a house, and we're having a hard time having older folks. So one of the things that's coming down the line is MBTA communities, of which Upton is affected. We're going to have to build housing diversity and multifamily housing. I'd like to hear what both think about that concept and how we'll approach that.
Jim?
Very good question. And as I stated earlier, I'm not an advocate of spot zoning, but I do support Article 31, inclusionary zoning, because it encompasses every zone in this town. I'm not a big fan of this MBTA 10-acre, whatever it is. And I'm also not a big advocate of Maura Healey's $4 billion housing bond bill. The reality is, though, we are going to have to deal with it. How the town deals with it, we're going to spot zone. How the town works with the developers on the affordability aspect, I don't have an answer for that. But everybody in this audience knows it is one of the premier issues that this town, in every town in the state of Massachusetts and in New England is dealing with. We're going to start by providing appropriate zones so that affordable housing units can be constructed.
Thank you. Bill?
Well, the MBTA communities zoning is an example of a situation where I think we can adhere to the requirements in a way that complies, but also respects Upton and maintains its character and so on and so forth. I don't know specifically how we do that, but I'm sure there's lots of smart people who can work through that in order to accomplish that. Beyond that, I think we're going to have to take a hard look at our zoning overall to find ways that truly help us develop affordable housing. The inclusionary zoning I support as well. However, I think it could have been done better. It just sets aside a certain number of units, all types of developments. Whether or not they may be right for that, whether or not affordable housing may be right for that zone, for that development, and doesn't provide a lot of flexibility if you want to try to move your affordable housing around. But again, those are the challenges we face.
Thank you. Next question?
I have two different questions. One for the candidates for selectmen and one for the candidates for planning board. So for the candidates for selectmen, can you give me an example of a problem you've solved here in the community, here working on the boards and whatnot? And then for the planning board, what's the most important part of a planning board's decision? Thank you.
Great, thank you. So, Board of Selectmen, we'll have you go first, and Brett will be the first to speak on that.
Lots of problem solving. I think that's what we spend a lot of our time doing. One that I think jumps to mind is one of the most challenging but also the most valuable was when we were trying to thread the needle on getting approval for the community center, which we're now sitting in, at the same time that the school was looking for and potentially asking for an override for their operational budget. And we were also in the middle of COVID. And so this was a very challenging time. And there was a lot of skepticism and pressure around holding back and sort of pushing on the school district to scale back their funding requests because there was this deference to let Mendon drive the bus because they'll decide and then we'll just respond to that. And I saw that as a problem because it was potentially jeopardizing something we knew would be great for this community, which was the Upton Community Center. So we pushed really hard on the school committee, and we were able to make adjustments to that budget, working with the superintendent, working with the school, and then we got the vote passed at town meeting to build the Upton Community Center. So that was a very difficult problem, and it was tricky because we couldn't do everything, and despite the fact that we wanted to, we obviously support our schools, we needed the community center, so we wanted to do it all, and we were able to do it. So we successfully navigated through that with a lot of collaboration, teamwork, and partnership across a large group of people, but that was an example.
Thank you. Marcia?
When I had mentioned before that one of the advantages for me is the fact that I'm retired and have time. When I was on the technology committee, they were doing budgeting. And at this point, they were doing budgeting with an Excel spreadsheet. The spreadsheet broke and budgeting stopped. So I got a call and I went in and fixed the corrupted spreadsheet so that budgeting could continue. But at the same time, I knew we had an accounting package and started to ask questions about, don't we have a budget module? It was thought that we didn't have the prerequisites for it, so I asked for a meeting with the vendor. We went in, talked to the vendor, he verified the prerequisites, and the next budget cycle, we had the application installed, and we didn't have to worry about corrupted spreadsheets.
Thank you. I forgot what the question was for the planning board.
Want to repeat it?
Real quick, yeah. Just want to make sure.
So planning board, what's the most important part of a planning board's decision?
Okay, great. So first now will be Bill Taylor.
I think the most important part of the planning board's decision, first of all, just to back up a bit, the planning board's role is to ensure that developers comply with the subdivision control bylaw, and that's one of the decisions, and then also special permits and site plan approval. But from a subdivision control perspective, the one area where there's a degree of latitude is waiving certain requirements of the law. And so I think those decisions have to be taken very carefully. The laws were established, to do certain things, and in some cases perhaps they need to be changed, but nonetheless, that's one area where you're exercising your basically your right to change things almost unilaterally. I mean, that's exclusively within the confines of the planning board. I think those decisions need to be taken very carefully.
Thank you. Jim?
My opening statement, one of the primary responsibilities of the planning board is to ensure our community maintains control as we grow. And how do we maintain control as we grow? We utilize our zoning bylaws and our subdivision control bylaws. I don't need any more friends. And being on a planning board, it's not an easy job. But what a planning board member is required to do in its action is to make a decision which is in the best interest of our community.
Thank you. Next. You've been doing great tonight, folks, but a few more will be fine. Remote, 45 seconds.
45 seconds, 45
Okay.
seconds. Lauren, you look really lonely over there. So my question is for you. Diversity, inclusion. Do you think that the library provides adequate services to diverse populations, LGBTQ and minority populations, or do you think it should be doing more? Do you think it should be doing less?
Okay. Wow. You did get a question.
That's a tough one.
So I don't think we do enough. I think there's stuff we do, and I think we can do more. I think that we're still in the beginning stages of this. This is such a great place for Upton to be in terms of this community center. But I think there's better. There was the question about communication. I think it's out there, but I don't think it might not get to the right people. So I think someone brought it up, how do we get the communication to somebody? So more things, promoting on Facebook. We maybe use some letter boards out in the town, doing more things in terms of promoting, going onto our website, having the links available. So I'd like to see this used more for a safe space for people, and also, for just people who want to come in and try it out.
Thank you. All right, anything else? Steve?
For Lauren again, There's been a huge increase in the number of communities that have requested books be banned from libraries. I don't know that that's ever happened here. I hope it hasn't. As a member of the trustees, what would your position be if that ever did happen?
I don't think there's a blanket answer for that. I think it would be on a case-by-case basis. I don't believe in banning books because it's a right to freedom of speech and put that out there, but if it was something severely harmful to our community and to people who use the library, then that's a discussion that we can have as the board, and that's a discussion we can have as a town.
Great. Anything else? If not, that's okay. Okay. Maybe just a couple of minutes and wrap it up. Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. I do have a couple of concerns, and anyone can pick this up. And I don't know if this is the proper forum to address that. I'm Alfred Palladini, 6 Brook Street, Upton. I have a couple of concerns with all the development and projects that are going on in town. You know, the downtown renovation, I don't know, the Rotary there thingy, the affordable housing and stuff like that. And buildings all over the place.
Right.
My concern is with the construction that's going to be going on up 140, going up to the buildings that are up there that are being built up the street up there. You know where they are.
Right, okay, go ahead.
But anyway, so I was wondering if there was anything in the works to like put a, I don't know, some kind of a stop signs, or those portable flashing signs at the end of Brook Street coming out onto 140, because you do take your life in your hands here. There's been many.
We got that, yeah, I gotta wrap it up.
Okay, and the other thing is, I'd like to know is, on Brook Street, with all the construction that's going on, will we on Brook Street be allowed the opportunity to tie into the town sewerage line?
Okay, Brook Street, signage, sewage, anyone want to address this, and other things that were related about the buildings? Anybody want to approach it? It's a general question for anybody.
I'll give it a shot.
Jim?
My uncle lived on Brook Street. It's a tough intersection. Fortunately, nobody in my family ever got whacked. The state and the developer of Governor's Landing, they're going to be reconstructing 140. They're going to be putting sewer up there. But unfortunately, sir, it's not going to go down Brook Street.
Bill, did you want to respond to that question at all or anything? Okay, either. Oh, Laura, go ahead.
I do. I'll take my Board of Health hat off and put my Selectman's hat on. If you go down to Michael Antonellis, the project has been outlined in detail. And yes, when they start the TIP project coming through with the roundabout, I've been corrected, it's not a rotary, they are going to change the sightlines for Brook Street. They're going to remove some trees. It should be improved. But Michael Antonellis is the town planner. You can go down and he can go over the proposals with you. That's probably your best bet. You're welcome.
Select Board, either person want to respond? No, that's fine. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Okay. Well, why don't we make this the last one then?
Okay.
Okay, and then I'll have one to ask after that, so go ahead, Chris.
This is for Laura. I just have a question about the next public health emergency that we have. Would you envision Upton and the Board of Health acting any differently than it did in the past? And not to say that you didn't act properly, but any changes that you might envision?
I have to say,
Can you repeat the question? I didn't quite hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
the question was, for the next health emergency, perhaps another pandemic, would you envision the Board of Health acting any differently? I can tell you we have a town nurse. Trish Parent is our RN on staff. Trish and Diane were instrumental in bringing the Blackstone Valley together, vaccinating our first responders, and doing a ton of work. They were instrumental in providing vaccines. Her services are truly invaluable. Upton led the way. And I think, once again, we are prepared. We are well-educated, Trish is well-trained, and we have since then developed a network of many things throughout the valley. We work cohesively together. Many of the small towns came together. So I think we're actually, I don't think it's an if, I think it's a when, and we are well-prepared. We work directly with the Department of Public Health. That's who the Board of Health reports to, not the town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's really nice to have folks from Hopedale that end up moving to Upton, huh, Jan? Trish Parent happened to be from Hopedale when I was a kid, that's all. So, great person, great person. Okay, if there's no other questions, I have one last question for the four candidates here. You've all been in town for a while now, and I know you know each other, so tell me something positive about your opponent. Okay, so we'll start with the planning board people, and then we'll go to the selectmen. So give me something really good about your opponent that they've done for the community. So who wants to start, either Bill or Jim?
I have no problem speaking.
Go ahead. So tell us something about Bill Taylor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. And I'm asking the residents of the town of Upton to vote for me. Should you not, I ask you to vote for Mr. Bill Taylor, because that gentleman has as big of a heart for our community as I have for our community.
Bill?
No comment.
Well, actually, I would mirror what Jim just said. If I'm not the right guy, Jim is. One thing I truly respect about Jim is his passion for Upton. So I think regardless of who you vote for, you're going to be in good hands. And that makes me feel good. So good luck, Jim.
Good. Okay. Who wants to grab the mic first? Are you guys in the middle here?
Would you like to?
Go ahead.
I don't know Marcia particularly well, but every time I've seen her and engaged with her and had conversations with her, she's clearly inquisitive. She's a leader in terms of looking for information, trying to gather data, putting together pieces of the puzzle, taking initiative and taking action, right? A lot of people sit and watch what happens in town, get frustrated, complain. Marcia's someone that looks, gets involved. She's been involved long before what she's been doing most recently with the 40B. She's been doing personnel board things. She's done other things in the community. So she is an advocate for this community. She cares about this community. She's willing to do the work. She has the time, and she would be a great member of the select board.
Great. Thank you, Marcia.
Well, I've known Brett for quite a while because of the select board. I happen to go to a lot of meetings. And I would say running for select board has been an experience. Just running is a lot of work, and you sit in the meetings and you know that there's a lot of work to be done. And he's there doing it, and he's running again. He's a nice guy with a beautiful family, and if you don't vote for me, you can vote for Brett.
Thank you, everybody. I like to ask that question, not because I don't want people to think it's sort of a little cutesy, but we do really live in a great community, and we have a lot of great people who get involved. And that's one of the reasons why it's a great community. Simple as that. So, okay, good. So we're going to wrap things up. So, again, the candidates who are already opposed will have 2 minutes to make final statements, and we've drawn lots, and we will have the planning board people go first, and first will be Bill Taylor. So, Bill, you got 2 minutes to wrap things up.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Bloomer Girls for doing this again. This has been a phenomenal opportunity for me to get to meet some new people and talk to you as well. I also want to thank you for coming. I'd like to see the engagement. And so we got to figure out how to get more here. We're working. And I'm just very happy to be here in front of you. I would love to serve on the planning board, so if you see fit, give me a vote. If not, I'll have more time.
Thanks. Jim?
And I'd like to thank all of the citizens of Upton who have attended this meeting, who will be watching it on cable TV, and the Upton Bloomer Girls for sponsoring this event. Why have we chosen to call Upton our home? Because we are stable, conservative, and a caring community. I have heart, open-mindedness, commitment to our community, and that is why I have chosen to call Upton my home. As our community grows, I will support our town through cooperation, consideration, control, and the understanding of why we have chosen to call Upton our home.
Thank you. Okay, and first to speak for closing statements is Marcia.
I had too much to say on the 40B, but I have one last thing to say. For those of you here that are concerned about affordable housing and have it remain affordable, there's something called a deed restriction on 40B units that are affordable, and by default they expire after 30 years. So it would be, if you're involved and you have an option of changing this or get the state to change it, but I think it should be made in perpetuity. Why I want to run is because I love this town. I've served on multiple boards, and I have some background now through not only serving on boards, but attending more meetings than you can believe. Most of the board people know me by name, so I know who to go to if I have a question, and if I don't, I know who to ask. The select board is the executive branch of our town. They oversee the town's operation, and I think the experience I have and the background I have would work well in this position. Thank you. Please vote for me.
Thank you very much. Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the Bloomer Girls, of course. Thank you to everybody that's here, everyone that's volunteering their time to running. Mr. Moderator, thank you. It's a distinct privilege to serve this community, and I thought long and hard about whether or not 6 years was enough, right? Like, you need new ideas, you need creativity. Like, how do you stay fresh and just not become, myopic and become closed-minded and sort of have this sense that you're right? And I just kept reminding myself, I have more to give. I love this community. I'm passionate about serving people. Like, I really just want to help people in all things that I do. I do that in my work. I do that at home. I do that for the community. This is just who and how I operate. And I implore people to communicate and talk and ask questions and get engaged. We as a board are here to help. I as a board member am here to help. We need ideas, we need energy, we need feedback. We can't just let a small handful of people dictate what goes on in the town, right? We're a loving, caring community. I love the way Lauren said that, right? We are the jewel of Blackstone Valley, right? We're not, people used to say, oh, we're trying to be like Grafton, we're trying to be like Hopkinton. Wrong. We're not trying to be like anybody. We're trying to not be like every other town around us that's quite similar in terms of develop strip malls along their main roads and big apartment houses, on the corners and what they've got in Hopkins, right? We're none of those things. We're unique, we're special, we've got a beautiful, caring, loving community of people. We have an incredibly diverse, natural set of resources that we have between the state parks and the open space, the neighborhoods. We have just a wonderful, wonderful community. So I'd ask for your vote on May 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, please, a round of applause for all the candidates. And especially a big applause for the Bloomer Girls for putting this together. And one last statement I do want to make, and it's this. If there's any way that this video can be sent to a city about 800 or so miles southwest of us and show them the way government is supposed to be run, that would be great. That's my dream. Good night, everybody. Thank you.